if you don't know something, can it not hurt you? Or if you don't know something, can you have a surprise coming towards the end or in the future of your life? Welcome to Break and Build. I am going to be your host, Billy Lutz, where we take a break from your day and we build your life in a positive way. So today we are going to be talking about something near and dear to my heart, as always, as almost all the things that we talk about on this podcast. This is going to be talking about willful ignorance equaling pain and surprises in your life. When thinking about this concept, this comes up to me very often, and I'm always just trying to think about, like, how do we maximize out our lives? How do we make sure that we're having and getting the most out of everything that we can in our life? Oftentimes, we might not know about a lot of things. Some of you guys may not know about all the organic stuff that I've been teaching you about. Maybe you don't know about some of the personal development stuff. Maybe you don't know about some of the subconscious programming of the marketing of our society. Maybe there's a lot of things in your life that you just don't know. But does that actually give you a pass? It really actually doesn't. What you don't know can't hurt you is one of the sayings out there, but that's not really true. What you don't know can and probably will hurt you in the long run. I'm going to give you an example. Let's take it back to the health of the body because it's more of a concrete example. You guys may be like, dude, we always talk about this, but think about it. It's very relevant. Everybody shares the exact same experience because we all are living in a body. We all are here on earth in a body. So let's take, for example, that you are unaware of organic food and you like to eat McDonald's, and you have no concept that that food is not really even food. It's been processed. It's, modified. It's full of chemicals and different congealing agents and all these other things, and you just don't know that that food is not the best for you. And so you go on with your merry life for years and years and years, eating McDonald's multiple times per week, multiple times per month, and eventually speaking, you're going to get to a point in your life that your body cannot handle that type of food. But maybe you're thinking that's kind of extreme. Everybody knows that, fast food's maybe not the best for them. Let's take like your favorite restaurant that you go to that is not health conscious. Whatever that could be for you. Maybe it's Olive Garden. Let's take Olive Garden for an example. You may seem like, oh, Olive Garden, like they got some good stuff. Well, they're probably using some oils that are not so congruent for you. So putting that type of oil in your system for a very long period of time may not be the best for your liver. Your liver does the detoxification process. So by putting junk into your liver consistently on a daily basis, probably not the best thing for you. So that's number one. Number two, all of their food is probably genetically modified, and it's probably treated with pesticides and herbicides. And then there's probably additives and other chemicals into that food that then creates flavor enhancers. And not only that, it's lacking vitamins, minerals, and nutrients as well. So the combination of all those things, your body is expecting to get some type of nutrients. Instead of the nutrients, it's getting chemicals in the place. So now you're adding to the toxicity of your environment. Let's say, because I'm sure you know people like this, and I'm not trying to be here to make people feel bad about anything. Remember, the goal in our life is to become aware. Awareness is one of the biggest goals that you could really have for yourself, because the more aware you can become of thought processes, of programming, of marketing, of health, of relationships, the better and more effort and more efficient effort you can put into those areas. And I'm sure you guys know people like that. And think about this concept. In the long run, people be like, oh, there's no indicator that somebody's going to have a heart attack. It just kind of just happens. It's like, dude, what is that thought? I've heard that so many times growing up that like there's no indicator, it just happens. That's not true. Maybe you don't feel like you're about to have it an hour before it's going to happen, but you've been living. You've been doing activities for 20, 30, 40, 50 years consistently. Being ignorant to the fact that you've been participating in these activities that could eventually lead to heart disease does not excuse you from getting it. It does not excuse you from pain in a relationship because you don't know certain things. It doesn't excuse you in relationships with other people and friendships that you don't know that you do these things or you have these specific habits or patterns or whatever it is all I'm saying up front is that you and us and we do not know things. Get curious about the things. I'm curious. I wonder what I don't know. How much more do I not know? Do you ever think about that? Or are you just content with trying to know and be in the know of everything that you can, be here instead of looking oh my gosh, the world is vast. I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's out there. What could be out there? What more is there for us? What is more out there for me? What's the next level of my life going to look like? Let me try to start designing that instead of sitting here and being I'm good. Whatever I have is cool. Now that you guys have been listening to this podcast, I've been enlightening you guys on a bunch of different aspects of your life. The next aspect is do not be ignorant and expect pain not to happen. Because it will happen. We're all a ticking time bomb. We're all going to pay taxes. Some of us will pay more than others if we're not in the know. Once again, we're all eventually going to die. And those are two guarantees in our life, pretty much. Unless you choose to just not have a job and live off the land. But in some regard, you're going to pay taxes to something. In some facet, you're going to pay taxes, and eventually we're all going to decease from this energy form on Earth right here. So we might as well get more curious. We might as well get more conscious. We might as well learn a little bit more. We might as well take advantage of everything that's out in front of us. We might as well start thinking, I wonder what I just don't know. I wonder if you have an experience and a symptom or you have some type of feedback mechanism from you that you're just not happy about. Maybe it's your relationship, maybe it's your job, maybe it's your activities, maybe it's your relationship with yourself, maybe it's your money, whatever that is, get more curious. Just get more curious. That's all you have to do is get more curious. Well, I want more money. Well, okay, I have no idea. So I can just sit here and tell myself I don't have money, but what is that going to do? That's will for ignorance. I can never get money. Doesn't happen. It just happens to fall in some people's laps and some people just don't get it. How empowering of a sentence and a phrasing does that sound? Do you ever phrase things like that to yourself? Or do you take a step back and say, well, that person has money. I want money. That person has money. Well, those people got money. I wonder how they got money. And then you're just oh, well, maybe if they got a certain level of money, I could get a certain level of money. And they're oh, well, maybe if they achieve this thing, there's limitations to that. If you're not 6'6" and you're 35 and you're 5'4", you probably can't become the top basketball player to ever walk this planet. Let's just be real with ourselves. But there's something that you could get really good at. Right now, whatever age you are, whatever time space you're living in, wherever you are right now, you can get really good at something. But you have to become curious. You can't be saying, I just don't know, and I'm just going to assume that whatever I'm doing is going to get me whatever I want. You can't assume that because then you're giving up your power. Think about it. What are you doing? You're giving your power to convenience, to whatever is just in front of you with no conscious thought of what the repercussions of that action is going to be because there's always a repercussion of an action. Think about it. If you want to switch to organic food, what's the repercussion of that action? It's going to be a little bit more expensive. But the positive repercussion of that action is you're no longer being exposed to all the chemicals and nutrient-lacking food, and you're not destroying the earth and everything like that. So there's positives and negatives. There's always going to be that in life. It's called duality. You never do something without having an equal effect in a positive and negative space. And when I say positive and negative, it may not be a negative that's detrimental. It could just be the counterbalance, as my friend Bob calls it, a major and minor. What's going to be the major effect and what's going to be the minor effect? The major effect is that's going to be costing a little bit more money. Or maybe that's the minor effect, right? So it doesn't have to be that it's I'm making this change. What's going to be the good and the bad? Don't think about it as a good and a bad. Think about it like a magnet. Is a negative side of a magnet bad? No. Is a positive side of a magnet good? No. It's just a positive side and a negative side. That's all it is. There's no good or bad to that. It just has a slightly different property. The positive is going to attract, the negative is going, or the positive is going to basically like attract, right? If you put two together, it's not going to work. You need the negative side to go together to make a magnet happen, right? So think about it in life. What's going to be, and when I say positive and negative, start desensitizing yourself to good and bad. I'm not saying good and bad when I'm saying positive and negative. I'm saying positive or negative. There's going to be duality in your decisions. Do not be ignorant about where and how you're pursuing things. Be curious about it. And think about the things in your life that you just want more of. You want to be more in shape. Well, how does that happen? It doesn't just happen that you happen to be out of shape. It doesn't just happen that you happen to have a surprise that just came up in your life. It doesn't just happen that you tripped, you banged your arm slightly on the concrete outside. I've used this example before, and you broke your arm. That doesn't just happen unless it's a super freak accident. There's probably a chance that your bones were a little bit weak from eating non-organic food, drinking milk, thinking you're getting calcium from milk, and actually milk creates inflammation sometimes, for the most part, especially if it's not organic, in the body. And then what happens? Your body's going to actually pull calcium from your bones to start helping your body balance out inflammation in the body, as opposed to making your bones stronger. So actually what you're being advertised by the milk and dairy industry is doing the opposite of what it normally would do, which is crazy. I bet you guys didn't know that. So in reality, if you're just accepting the things that are being put in front of you, you're watching the news, you're accepting the messages that are coming from the news, you're accepting the food that's readily available and easy for you to obtain, you're accepting all these things, and the easiest way to think about it is what I'm accepting convenient, like super convenient? Is it like ridiculously convenient where it's like, oh, just got home from work, bam, there's my TV, one button click, and now I'm a zombie for 2 hours. I'm on my way home, I'm just gonna grab some food. Me and my wife, let's just go to the movies. Okay. Maybe you guys actually really like the movies together, so I'm not trying to like disassociate these and make them feel like they're not good activities, but maybe there's an activity where it's like, hey, honey, I really planned out this date for us. I know that we both really like photography and walks in the park, so I packed this lunch. I made a healthy lunch. We're going to go walk in the park with the packed lunch, and then we're going to take some photos of birds because we both really like birds. Like, think about that experience as to a convenience-based experience. Think about like finding a restaurant. If you guys haven't ever been to True Food Kitchen, I suggest going to True Food Kitchen because it's really tasty, number one. Number two, it's a different experience of food. And it's a little bit more chainy, so it's going to be a little bit easier for you guys to go about there. Or just find like an organic restaurant or something like that, or a farm-to-table restaurant that uses mostly organic foods, and you can call them and just ask them a couple questions. But the connected experience of you being more proactive and in tune and curious about things in comparison to the will for ignorance, I'm just going to grab for convenience at all times. Just grabbing for all this convenience and seeing what's just put in front of me by all these marketing companies, these, easy companies that are just going to get right in front of you and just be like, oh, here you go. Here's what it is. Are you good with this? Okay, here you go. Think about that. Willful ignorance does not give you a pass in life. I just want you guys to get that down into your life, that if you do not know, that doesn't mean it's not going to hurt you. That is not an appropriate saying. If you do not know, the more appropriate saying is it's going to hurt you. You are going to be hurt by something that you do not know about. Whether it's going to be chemicals, whether it's going to be food, whether it's going to be breaking down your body, whether it's going to be a relationship, whether it's going to be a job, something that you do not know will ultimately hurt you. And I want you guys to be way more proactive about this experience. So take this for what it's worth, guys. Stop being ignorant about things that are put in front of you. Get way more curious about everything and really start to analyze. Does this actually make sense? When I'm watching the news, do I feel good about this? Is this making sense to me? Like, don't just listen to things that are being thrown at you. You could walk down the street. I use this example all the time because this is what we do commonly in America. It's a really poor habit. We take advice from our neighbors that may not even have the things that we want in life. Oh yeah, Jim, yeah, I saw him on the bus. I met this dude, Jim, on the bus. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say this. Yeah, and he told me like the stock market was crappy, so like the stock market's crappy. It's like, do you even know? Oh yeah, Jim told me that organic food's super expensive and like GMOs aren't even a thing. Do you actually know that? Like, people take people's advice. This is a question that you should ask yourself, which we will get into on the next podcast, is framing your question such as this. Does the person that I'm listening to and taking their advice have the things that I want in my life? If the answer is no, if they do not have the example of what they're talking about is working, you shouldn't listen to that person. So get out of the way of your own self, get more curious, and don't allow ignorance to become your crutch in life that's going to hold you back, because it totally will. So share this to somebody that needs this. We're trying to enlighten and brighten more people's lives here with Break and Build. So I appreciate you guys being here as always. I'm going to see you guys out on the next episode.